Now we move on to public communication. Public communication is a sender-focused form of communication in which one person is typically responsible for conveying information to an audience. Public speaking is something that many people fear or at least don't enjoy. But just like group communication, public speaking is an important part of our academic, professional, and civic lives. When compared to interpersonal and group communication, public communication is the most consistently intentional, formal, and goal-oriented form of communication. It is precisely this formality and focus on the sender that makes many new and experienced public speakers anxious at the thought of facing an audience. Despite being formal, public speaking is very similar to the conversations that we have in our daily interactions. Public communication, at least in Western societies, is also more sender focused than interpersonal or group communication. For example, although public speakers don't necessarily develop individual relationships with audience members, they still have the benefit of being face to face with them. So they can receive verbal and non-verbal feedback. Coming to the last form of communication, that is mass communication. Public communication becomes mass communication when it is transmitted to too many people through print or electronic media. Print media such as newspapers and magazines continue to be an important channel for mass communication. Although they have suffered much in the past decade due to the rise of electronic media. Television, websites, blogs, and social media are mass communication channels that you probably engage with regularly. Some other examples of mass communication are radio, podcasts, and books. The technology required to send mass communication messages distinguishes it from the other forms of communication. Mass communication differs from other forms of communication in terms of the personal connection between participants. Even though creating the illusion of a personal connection is often a goal of those who create mass communication messages, the relational aspect of interpersonal and group communication isn't inherent within this form of communication. There is no immediate verbal and non-verbal feedback loop in mass communication. Of course, you could write a letter to the editor of a newspaper or send an email to a television or radio broadcaster in response to a story. But the immediate feedback available in face-to-face interaction is not present. The technology to mass produce, distribute communication messages brings with it the power for one voice or a series of voices to reach and affect many people. This power makes mass communication different from the other levels of communication. That's all for today. Thank you, students.